Hi, I'm Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis. I'm at AIPAC, and you're watching Rabbi Doug, and I want to give you very best wishes, kol tov to all of you. May Hashem bless you all.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about
Shalom
that.
and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. We're here for part 2 at AIPAC 2020 at the Washington Convention Center in Washington, D.C. We have a lot more guests, a lot more politicians who are going to be with us. You won't want to miss this second episode on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis, the Chief Rabbi of the UK.
Yehuda Avner used to tell the story of David Ben-Gurion, who in 1947 was invited by the British High Commissioner to dinner in his official residence in Jerusalem. During the course of the dinner, Ben-Gurion stood up, he took off his jacket, he perched on the seat behind him, and he sat down again. The High Commissioner noticed. He took a piece of paper out of his pocket, he scribbled a note. He called the waiter, and the waiter took the note to Ben-Gurion and he read the message. Dear Mr. Ben-Gurion, please have respect and put your jacket back on. Ben-Gurion flipped the piece of paper out and he scribbled the note. He called the waiter. The waiter took it over to the High Commissioner and he read it. Dear High Commissioner, I have permission from your Prime Minister to keep my jacket off. Well, that having been said, the jacket stayed off until the end of the dinner. At the end of the event, Ben-Gurion came over to his host. He thanked him for his hospitality, but the High Commissioner was angry. He said to Ben-Gurion, how can you explain the fact that my Prime Minister in London has given you permission here in Jerusalem to keep your jacket off? Yes, said Ben-Gurion, it actually happened. You see, he said, earlier this year in January, I was in London for a few weeks. There was a conference in the Middle East. During the course of my stay, I was invited to dinner at 10 Downing Street. During the course of the dinner, I took my jacket off, and the Prime Minister noticed. He took a piece of paper out of his pocket, and he scribbled a note. The waiter brought the note to me, and this is what I read. Mr. Ben-Gurion, when you are in Jerusalem, you can do as you wish. But here in London, I insist, put your jacket back on. Ladies and gentlemen, ever since that time, Prime Ministers of Israel and key Jewish leaders have been warmly and graciously welcomed in 10 Downing Street. But during the last year, we were filled with deep anxiety. What would happen if the next incumbent would be Jeremy Corbyn? What would the consequences be for Jews and Judaism and the State of Israel? And we recognized that the weight of historic responsibility was on our shoulders, because a Corbyn victory would send a negative message right around the world. But if Corbyn could be defeated, that would send a positive and encouraging message to Jewish communities and our many friends around the world. On the 12th of December 2019, not only was Labour defeated, it was an emphatic landslide victory. Allow me to share with you today 3 brief lessons from our British experience. The first relates to Jewish unity. When I published my op-ed in the Times, in which I declared that Jeremy Corbyn was unfit to hold high office, a piece that was well received by the British public, I did so not in a unilateral manner, but rather in concert with key Jewish figures and Jewish organizations, because on the matter of anti-Semitism, we have always acted as one. That is why our voice has been heard and our views have been respected. Today I issue a call to the Jews of America. Please take a leaf out of our book, and please speak with one voice. The issue is urgent, it is critical, it is of huge importance to our future. We cannot afford to be divided. What this therefore means is that where there is anti-Semitism, which is prevalent to our left, those who are politically active on the left must see it for what it is and must counter it. And where there is anti-Semitism, which is prevalent on the right, those who are politically active on the right must see it for what it is, and they must confront it. There is only one path for us, and that is the bipartisan route. The second lesson. Da lifnei mi ata omed. Know before whom and what you stand. You need to be able to define the problem. If there isn't a clear definition of anti-Semitism, you won't be able to identify who the perpetrators are. Sitting in this hall here today is Lord Eric Pickles, who was responsible for the fact that in December 2016, the British government was the first government in the world to adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. Thanks to IHRA, we have clarity on the matter, particularly on the sensitive and important issue surrounding Israel and Zionism. As a result, if somebody criticizes a particular policy of the government of Israel, that doesn't mean that that person is necessarily anti-Semitic. But if somebody denies the right of the Jewish people to have their state, that is a different matter. Very often we see that attempts to demonize the state of Israel are none other than attempts to demonize the Jewish people. We need to see it for what it is. We must confront it, and we must defeat it. And the final lesson. Next week we will be celebrating the festival of Purim. We will recall how Mordechai sent a message to Queen Esther in the palace of King Ahasuerus. Umi yodea, im la'et kazot, higad lamalchut. Who knows, it is probably for this very moment, this time of urgency, that you were given your power and influence. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my message to all of you today. You are in positions of leadership. You have influence. Please use it with all you've got at this time for the sake of Jews and Judaism and Medinat Israel, and please use your influence fearlessly and with courage. That is what the Jews of the United Kingdom have done together with our many friends, and the results are there to be seen. So consequently, let us act with one voice. Let us do so with a clear vision, and let us use our courage. And if that is the case, not only can we prevail, we will prevail. God bless you all.
Hello, AIPAC. I'm truly sorry I can't be with you this year at this year's conference. I'm out on the campaign trail. I'm in South Carolina, working as hard as I can to earn every vote. But you know that your voice matters to me. I've been speaking at your conference for a long time, hearing the passionate views of American Jews and friends of Israel, right, left, and center. I've been going to Israel for a long time as well, starting with my very first foreign trip as a senator, United States Senator. When I went to Israel, I met with Golda Meir and sat on the same side of the desk as an assistant of hers named Yitzhak Rabin. I've worked with every Israeli leader since that date. And over that time, whether it's here with you in the United States or in Israel, there are a few things that have not changed and will not change. I will always call out anti-Semitism, whether it comes from the left, the right, or the center. I will always stand with and for a secure, democratic, Jewish state of Israel. And I will always tell you what I believe, whether I agree or disagree. And I will never boycott you. American Jews will always have a seat at my table, because you've always had me at your table, and because you know as well as anyone that we're in the battle for the soul of this nation. We've seen the rise of hatred, spread all across this nation, including the rise of anti-Semitism, from Poway to Pittsburgh to Jersey City. And it's more important than ever to reaffirm the basic values that are essential to our nation and the democratic ideals that at our best unite Israel and the American people. You know, every generation has to fight for those values, to renew them, to prove that this is a land where hate has no safe harbor. So we need your help to stand up for those values and for the enduring partnership between Israel and the United States, while also critically strengthening the constituency for peace. Real peace, not an empty political stunt. Both sides sitting down together, doing the very hard work to hammer out an agreement. Because, you know, a two-state solution is the best way to assure a secure and peaceful Israeli future for the Jewish and democratic state of Israel. That's the goal we all share. You know, Israelis wake up every morning facing an existential threat from their neighbors. A rain of rockets from Gaza, just like this past week. Threats and missiles from Iran and Hezbollah. Israeli lives each day are moving forward with tremendous courage, but under threat. That's why I've always been adamant that Israel must be able to defend itself. It's not just critical for Israeli security. I believe it's critical for America's security. And it's why I'm so proud of the Obama-Biden administration's unprecedented support for Israel's security, including the life-saving Iron Dome system. But we cannot fully safeguard Israel without peace. Peace is indispensable. And it's also the best way to meet the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. Expand economic opportunity, pursue justice, and protect their dignity. You don't have to be anti-Palestinian to be pro-Israeli. Israel and Palestinian children are equally deserving of safety, security, and an opportunity to pursue their dreams. You know, we all need to work together to address the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, because there is a crisis. And we're not going to achieve that future if we don't condemn steps on both sides that take us further from peace. Palestinians need to eradicate incitement on the West Bank, eradicate it. They need to end the rocket attacks from Gaza, stop it. They need to accept once and for all the reality and the right of a secure, democratic, and Jewish state of Israel in the Middle East. You know, and Israel, I think, has to stop the threats of annexation and settlement activity, like the recent announcement to build thousands of settlements in E1. That's going to choke off any hope for peace. And to be frank, those moves are taking Israel further from its democratic values, undermining support for Israel in the United States, especially among young people of both political parties. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous. We can't let that happen. We can't let Israel become another issue that divides Republicans and Democrats and the major parties. We can't let anything undermine the partnership that has grown and flourished from the moment of Israel's founding. I know it's hard. I really do, but it's not impossible. I've seen the Israeli people create miracles with little more than hope and raw determination, because Israel, like America, is an optimistic, hopeful nation. There's nothing beyond our capacity, nothing we're unable to accomplish if we put our minds to it, and nothing we cannot achieve when Israel and the United States stand together. So thank you for all you do for the United States and for Israel. And may God protect our troops.
Shalom Aleichem. Lovely to be in your midst, and this is a precious opportunity to engage with colleagues in the rabbinate here in America, and I will just share a few divrei Torah with you. The name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as it appears in our Sidurim, is spelled Yud Yud. What is the origin of that? So in the Sefer Nachlat Chamisha, he says that the origin is in this forthcoming week's Parshat HaShavua, Parshat Tetzaveh. The Pasuk says, V'shachanti betoch b'nei Yisrael. Hashem says, I will reside in the midst of b'nei Yisrael.
So, betoch b'nei Yisrael, let's have a look at the words b'nei Yisrael. What do you find? Mamash betoch b'nei Yisrael, the last letter of b'nei is a yud, the first letter of Yisrael is a yud. So therefore, betoch b'nei Yisrael, you find yud yud. V'shachanti, representing the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu right in our midst. So Reb Naftali of Ropshitz gives this added Hasidic depth. And he says that Hasidim like to say that a yud represents a yid. So where you have the two yuds within which HaKadosh Baruch Hu resides, therefore, when does Hashem reside in our midst? It's when you have two yidden who are good friends, who are there together, living in a spirit of Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. And indeed, if you have a look at the parish of Radak, and Hinei Matov U'Manaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, he asks, why do we have the word Gam? Shevet Achim Yachad. Why Gam Yachad? It's a bit unusual in its Hebrew terminology, and explains the Radak, the Gam represents HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That where you have Shevet Achim Yachad, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Gam Sham. The Gam refers to the presence of Hashem, V'shachanti betoch b'nei Yisrael. So here we recognize the power of Chavruta, of unity, of a sense of peace, of amity within Klal Yisrael. One of my favorite ideas relates to the origin of the Hebrew word for hand, which is yad. So why is yad the word for hand? So in each hand you've got 14 joints, 3 in each finger and 2 in the thumb, adding up to 14, which is yud daled. So that's why a hand is yad. And when you have two yidden who come together and they hold hands or they shake hands, you've got yud daled and yud daled, spelling the word yedid. So that's the origin of the Hebrew word yedid, yad and yad, which means a friend. And yedid in turn is 14 and 13, which in lettering is kafchet, which spells koach, strength. So the greatest source of strength, of koach, is yedidut. When we are together, we are strong, we are unbreakable. When we are fractured, when we are divided, then Chalila, we are weak. Esther HaMalka's response to the crisis in the days of Haman HaRasha was a message to Mordechai, Lech Knosset Kol HaYudim. Go and gather together all of the Jews. This is a time for kinus. It's a time for all Jews to come together, to daven together, to act together, to be united together. And the term knos is the biblical root for the modern Hebrew word kinus, which is a conference. And without doubt, the world's greatest kinus today, the greatest expression of knos et kol hayudim is AIPAC. There is no equivalent right around the world. For me, it's a thrill to have this first experience at AIPAC. For many of you, I'm sure, you've come here often before. But to sense and to experience the Knosset Kol HaYudim, this incredible gathering, is something thrilling. It is something special. And in the same way as in the days of Esther HaMalka and Mordechai Yehudi, the Knosset Kol HaYudim took place at a time of crisis, which this wasn't the case, we need to recognize this is a time of crisis for Jews and Judaism in America, as it is for us in many parts of the world. And at a time when there is a threat from the outside, we cannot afford to be divided within. One of my illustrious predecessors, Harav Lord Jacobovitz, asked a question on Sim Shalom. We say, Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ke'echad Be'or Panecha. Bless us, our Father, Kulanu Ke'echad, all of us as one in the light of your countenance. The bracha we're asking for is unity within Klal Yisrael, but Sim Shalom is all about peace with our foes. Why do we include in the bracha a tefillah for peace within Klal Yisrael? And Rav Jacobovitz explained, if we're going to have any chance to achieve peace with our enemies without, we have to start by establishing peace within. Kulanu ke'echad be'or panecha. It's always lovely for me to engage with Rabbanim from North America because I always sense great achdut, wonderful collegiality, tremendous sense of unity. That's what I'm experiencing here, being stopped in every corridor, talking, engaging, speaking. What you have here is something exceptionally precious. I'm not sure if you appreciate it, but I certainly do, coming from the outside. Yeshakar for everything that you're doing within your Kehillas. Yeshakar for your participation in AIPAC. Yeshakar for the Achdut within the rabbinate. And may we indeed, at this time in anticipation of the festival of Purim, achieve the Achdut that we need with Klal Yisrael at this urgent and seriously important time. And ultimately, may we merit to deserve v'shachanti b'toch b'nei Yisrael, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be in our midst always. God bless.
I'm Congressman Dan Lipinski. You're watching Rabbi Doug.
We're here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. We're in the village at AIPAC 20, and I am here with Eyal, Zimlichman, and Yoel, Hareven, and they are here with Sheba International. It's the Tel Shomer City of Health. They have with them today Sheba Medical Center Field Hospital, which they've set up here at AIPAC, and we're going to see a demonstration of what they can do. But tell me something, Yoel, about Sheba International and how this whole idea is outside of Israel. You know, we understand the field hospital in Israel in different situations, but what about going outside of Israel? What is the goal and the idea of that?
So Sheba stands in a very imminent, very footprint in Israeli life, in the Israeli society. We treat 1.6 million Israelis a year. So regarding the state of Israel, it's, of course it's outstanding, but we believe that we have another role, which is the international role, which we want to bring the good of the Judaism, the good of the Yiddish economy, the good of medicine, the good of medical innovation, to share with the nation. We believe that this role can be happen through humanitarian missions, through collaboration. Eyal was talking about the collaboration with research institute, with leading hospitals around the globe, especially here in North America. So, you know, there is no one person to do this mission. It's about collaboration. Only together, when we share hands, we can do good for humankind.
Very nice. So, Dr. Zimlichman, I want to ask you, you're the Chief Medical Officer. What, you know, Newsweek has recognized Sheba Medical Center in Tel Shomer as one of the best hospitals in the world. What makes this hospital and this medical staff and group of people that go out in the field as well unique to others?
I think apart from being a hospital, obviously we have that footprint in Israel. Sheba has set out to have a global impact. We want to have global impact. We want to change the world. How many hospitals do you know that want to change the world? And that's why we're standing out above everybody else. I'll give you an example, innovation. We've set out a vision of what healthcare needs to look like 10 years from now. And now we're looking for other partners around the world that share the same vision and want to work with us to get to that point and not just stay idle and allow others to come in with the innovations. So we're proactively pushing to have a better future for all of us. And this is the Sheba way.
This is great. I want to thank you both for being on the show. Look forward to the demonstration in the field hospital here at AIPAC 20. Stay with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. And thank you both.
Thank you, Rabbi.
We're looking forward to seeing more and hearing more about Sheba International.
Newsweek announced this morning for the second time on the list.
Very nice.
We went up from number 10 in the world to number 9 in the world.
So we hit the list.
Hatzlacha. Stay with us.
Thank you.
We are here, the surgical team. You are in a tent that is supposed to go into disaster areas. This is not something that we open up in Israel just because we have buildings, all right? So this tent has this place that you're now in, which is the OR, and we have the ICU. We have the ability to split this tent in the middle and have 2 ORs at the same time, all right? So what we are seeing here, we're seeing here an open fracture, and part of what we do, this is not a sterile place. So we are not supposed to fix the problem indefinitely. This is not a definite problem. This is something we want to have a temporal fixation for the bone in order for the soft tissue to heal. So what I'm going to do now is just fixate the bone with an external fixation. Feel free to ask questions if you have. I'm going to work, so probably, you know, men cannot do 2 things at once. So
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, painful. So what I'm doing,
Are you our volunteer?
So what I'm doing, I'm actually now making a route for the pins to go in. So we're using the heavy tools, the orthopedic tools, in order to do that. I'm using the drill, and I'm going through the bone. Ow. There we go.
Yes, this demonstrates a real human bone.
Thank you. So now I'm inserting the pin, and actually what we're supposed to have, we're supposed to have few pins of those. See that's going in. All right. That fixate the bone, and the way we do it is we use the external fixation, which is by its name external, meaning we leave the wound open. The reason we want to leave the wound open is because if we close down the skin, then the bacteria has a very comfortable place to live at, and we don't want that, all right? Thanks. This part can take a little while, but...
We're trying to adjust everything, and the most important part of this surgery is to place the bones right alongside the other. Not
part of that. So the meaning of this is actually make the soft tissue feel better while the bones are connected. And this gives us a good construct for everything to heal up. Wow. Yeah. And you know, back in the hospital we have electric tools for that as well. But here we think that maybe we don't have the opportunity to get batteries and stuff like that. So we have everything ready for the manual. So sorry about the wait.
The real surgery takes more time.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is expedited, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is almost like any IKEA furniture.
And then when you have the construct, everything is fixed, all right? All right. Anyone has any questions?
Okay, I have a question. So if you go to a place, let's say earthquake in Haiti, and you guys come down there and set up your tents, what kind of resistance do you get from the locals when you come there to try and set up and do these things?
There is no resistance. Yeah. They are welcoming us. We only go wherever we wanted.
And the idea is that because of our size, that is not like, we don't have a huge size, we are very mobile. So you talked about Haiti, I think we've been the first one to be there because of that. Yes. And you know, when systems are collapsing, they are happy to get help from anyone. So it's all a matter of how you present yourself and how you talk with the one in charge. And you know, people are people. We find the common ground and work together.
Very nice. Well, that's it for part 2 here at AIPAC 2020. I want to thank all our guests, everyone who was here. An amazing, amazing policy conference so far. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see former shows on the web. If you want to, you can email us at info@tvrabbi.com. Stay with us next week for part 3 at AIPAC 20 in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Convention Center. Hope to see you then. Shalom, everyone.
This has been a tape with Rabbi Doug Production.